Hello, everyone. Today, I got Matt Thrash, part of SoCal Wrestling and Retro Rental Review. My name is
Yes.
Steven Gervais. That's Matt Thrash. Andy couldn't be here, but that's okay. Andy's a good guy, so is Matt. Matt's going to talk a lot of shit. He's even going to talk about the Rumble because Mark
Yes.
didn't tell me to mention that. But hey, I'll say it anyway. So, Matt,
Good
how are
old
you
Bart.
doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I didn't even know that we were on this podcast today. And Andy calls me up and he goes, "Hey, dude, any chance you could join this podcast?" I'm like, "What podcast?" So I apologize. I'm not. I wasn't as involved, but I'm here now. So let's get it rolling, baby.
Hell yeah. So, part of SoCal Wrestling, how'd that get started?
So, what do you mean? How I got started, or how SoCal Pro Wrestling got started?
How it got started, and then also how you got started with it, I should probably
Okay.
would be a better
Well,
question.
so all of us back in the day when we started wrestling, a lot of us came from this company called Southwestern Alliance of Wrestling, and that was run by Mike Rapata. Mike Rapata was actually the Colorado Kid, who was NWA heavyweight champion. He was also on WCW. Hell, I even saw him wrestle Jerry Lawler in the main event on Raw, like back in the day. So this guy, he knew his shit. Um, well, Mike we all kind of had a falling out with Mike. Myself, Andy, and Trevor, who became Anchors Away. Jeff Dino, who's actually the promoter of SoCal Pro Wrestling. They all just kind of met one day and were just kind of talking about how fed up they are with SAW and how fed up they are with Mike and kind of his weird antics. Like he wanted to do this like comic book battle royal where the Joker, someone dressed up like the Joker and came out and hit a bomb under the ring, and Mike would come out dressed like Superman and he'd look for the bomb and shit, and that would be the whole show. So we were just man, that's not really wrestling to us. But Andy, Trevor, and Jeff Dino all met at a Denny's or something, and they were just kind of talking about, hey, you know what, I should take up north, Jeff, and then Andy and Trevor would take down south. And they did. Andy and Trevor started New Wave. Jeff started SoCal Pro Wrestling, and SoCal Pro Wrestling is still going strong, baby. I mean, it's actually really cool to see how that company has evolved over the years. So that's the story, the skinny.
What started your love for wrestling in general and even the wrestling business?
Oh, man, so my dad was actually a professional bodybuilder. And I remember seeing him as a kid, always seeing him, going to the gym, eating lean, and it was just this just constant thing, this whole show. And I'm like, God, I can't do that. That's way too much discipline. But then I turn on the TV and I got, the Hulkster and, Earthquake and all these other fat guys, and they're on TV and doing their thing, slamming each other around. I'm like, I can't do that shit, but I can do this shit. So, it just kind of seeing those over the top personas and characters, always was a draw for me. And, when I had my opportunity in, the early 2000s, I ran with it. Simple as that.
Well, leave it up to Mark to try and crash the chat.
Of course he did. Leave it up to half owner of talking shit.
Well, see, as soon as he knew you were coming on, you and Andy were coming on, he's giving me a bunch of shit, and he's like, well, if you fuck up, at least, they'll talk shit about it. And I was just like, yeah.
Yeah, he loves us.
I know he does.
I think he has a little obsession, a little crush on Andy. So,
well, I mean, yeah, that is Mark. I mean, he had Bryce Tucker on for 3 times now, so
right?
There's got to be a man crush in there. Not, and for all the people that are probably looking to cancel my ass,
There's
you know,
nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that in
yeah,
2023.
yeah. I'm surprised I haven't got canceled yet. But I it was so interesting when I watched you guys on the Talking Shit show that I was like, God, I gotta have both them on there. And if I don't get both, at least either have Matt or Andy. So
Well,
I
thank
at
you.
least got one half of you guys. So
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm happy to be here.
hey, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah.
So with retro rental review, how'd
Yes.
that come about?
So, Andy and I, we started hanging out when I actually joined New Wave Pro Wrestling, the company that he was actually, co-owner of. And we always, I'd always go over to his house because he had a house over in La Mesa. And we'd always hang out and we'd watch like these old movies and we'd play like, PS2 games. And like, we were just so like our chemistry together is just amazing. And, I remember we would go over there, we just like talk, and Andy was always huge into like YouTube and stuff like that. And he even told me back in the day, he's like, one of these days I'm going to have my own thing. I'm going to be on this shit. And then they will be sorry. um, and, I'll be dipped in shit if I wasn't, on, I think I was on Facebook one day and Andy started having these videos come on for Paired. And I just started laughing my ass off and we started talking. And he was like, yeah, dude, I still want to do like a retro kind of movie review thing. And, I was actually sitting there going, yeah, that'd be really fun. And my wife, who was actually sitting there, she was actually like coming up with names for it. And she goes, well, what about like retro rental something? And I'm like, what about the retro rental review? And she's like, oh, yeah, that's good. And I sent it to Andy, and Andy's like, oh, I love it. And he had a logo made like in 10 minutes. Like the man is a magician on the computer. I don't know where he learned it, but he just like sends me this logo. He's like, this is it. And then I think the next day he sends me the opening. And ever since then, I'm just like, yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're having a lot of fun. We're having a lot of fun doing what we're doing.
You can't go wrong with the old school stuff. I mean, yeah, we got Xboxes now. We got Sony still.
But see, a lot of
Nintendo.
these kids, they don't know about the nostalgia. They don't know about the old stuff. Like we even do a solo series where we play, like old school games from like Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, NES, and the goal is to get these kids nowadays to play these games, watch these movies, check out these commercials. Just check out what we had as kids, so that maybe it can like spark their interest. And maybe my hope is somebody like goes, you know what? Those guys are right. It's all about the old school. And, somebody creates something that's just magical and glorious. And I always bring it back to, I don't know if you listen, there's a band called Carpenter Brute. And they're like this German, like kind of like techno synthy pop band. But they have this song called Turbo Killer. And the video is just like this 80s, like just badass, just awesome video. Like think of like Kung Fury. And every time I see that video, I'm like, yes, if I can help influence somebody to make something like this and it becomes a movie or a franchise, and that's what we're watching, 20 plus years from now. Yes. But yeah, that's just my hope. And I know Andy likes doing it just because Andy is incredible. That guy, he takes on so many different projects. He does his own YouTube thing in which he's very famous. Like I can't remember how many followers he has, but he's got a bunch of followers, enough to have companies reach out to him and say, hey, make us commercial, make this commercial for us and we'll pay you. And the fact that he would just be like, hey, let's do something. It's like, okay, bro, like you have 2 kids and you're married and you also do this and you also teach this and you're also a ring announcer for SoCal Pro Wrestling. Well, fuck it, let's do it.
I mean, hey, if you love what you're doing, it's never should be considered work.
Exactly.
And
100%.
How I started this podcast, actually a funny story. My wife's like, you know too much about movies and video games and sports in general. Why don't you just make a podcast?
Yes.
And then, of course, I was on another podcast called The Poor Boys, which Mark should remember that because Mark was the host of that. That was kind of like talking shit before talking shit, but we didn't know what we were doing.
With some scrub named Mark.
Yeah. Kind of like when you were talking about a guy doing commercials, that kind of reminded me of some Brian alum guy, just no, a typical, no, I'm kidding, Brian. Brian, he'll message me and be like, shut up.
He's going to message you, and then they're going to grill you on their next episode, and it'll be like with, Darcy the Mail Girl or somebody famous,
Damn.
Or like Kane Hodder. They're going to have like Kane Hodder one day, and they're just going to, this guy, Steven Gervais?
Kane's just gonna be looking in there. Somehow will know my name because they'll tell him, like, even before they go on, it's Steven Jarvis. Now remember that, so that when you tell him you're gonna kill him, he'll feel scared. But then I'll just be like in the comments, like, please.
I welcome you to try, Kane.
Yeah, I mean, if Peter Anthony would, say, hey, Steven, can you be in my next movie? Yeah, what's the part? You die in the first 5 minutes. Okay, good.
Hey, it's good exposure, man.
Yeah. I mean, hey, any little bit helps. And as we know with the Talking Shit show, they just meteoric rise. They leave us little guys just floundering. Yeah, everyone keeps asking me, they're like, maybe you should have listened to Mark a little bit more. It's like, yeah, I know. He had all the ideas. I just sat there and, soaked them all up. But I love their show, and they plug me a lot. So it's a good thing. And I plug them, and I'll plug you guys because you know what? Yes. You guys are cool.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we really appreciate it. We love doing this. So
link for their channel down in the description area there. So I try because we're all independent. We're not like Joe Rogan or Seth Rogen, where they're, toking it up on their live stream. We can't do that yet.
Right.
Well, I can't yet, but.
Yeah, but those guys were famous way before they even got their podcast. So
definitely. But yeah, people automatically think, oh, well, no, they weren't anybody. It's like, Joe Rogan was on Fear Factor, went to UFC, and
before that he was on what was that show, Spin City or something? He was an actual comedian.
Really?
Joe Rogan was a comedian before he was even on Fear Factor, UFC, all that shit. So Joe Rogan is like, I kind of consider that guy like an entrepreneur. So, if there's anything, what's going on, Peter?
Hey, Peter.
So if there's anything that that guy just jumps into it. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, if there's something he wants to do, he's just going to be like, I'm going to try it. Fuck it. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, so many people think they're automatically going to make like bank off doing this right away. It's not that. You can get really good, but then once you're really good, you got to somehow keep the audience entertained.
That's the thing, and that's the struggle with trying to do what Andy and I do, is trying to find that comedy and trying to like kind of reach our audience. But you know what? I feel like half the time when we're doing our thing, it's just we're just basically trying to pop each other, and that's what makes it funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's so much easier when you have another host.
Yes.
I mean, with me yesterday, I was going to interview someone that was on a guest list that said they wanted to come on my show. Well, I'm waiting for him, and all of a sudden it's like, well, they haven't shown up for 5 minutes, so I guess I'll just talk about my show and what's going to be updates on it. And
that's a shame.
It's like I sat there for so long, and it's just like, yeah, let's see how we can do this filler. And
yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame.
Sucks, but I can't be mad because I know it happens.
Yeah, people get busy. I mean, Andy no-showed talking shit. So there you go, dude.
God, someone actually no-showed talking shit. Oh my
God.
Yeah,
it was actually kind of funny because he was doing, I forget what he was doing, but when we talked about it, he's like, yeah, I'm supposed to be on a fucking podcast with Trevor. And I forgot about it or something. And all of a sudden, like, I guess Trevor just went on without him. And, it was great because Andy came on the next week and he just killed it.
Definitely. I mean, when people do this, they try and be so over the top and they don't be themselves, exactly. And it ruins what you're trying to do. But when I watched you guys on Talking Shit, and even when you guys do your own thing, it's genuine.
Thank you.
And that's what's gonna get people to come in. Like I've always told other people that come on the show, they always say, well, how do we get those subscribers? And it's like,
right.
Well, you'll get them when they come. You need to realize it doesn't come right away, and you guys will get there.
It's like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. So we've built it. Now we're just waiting. Come on over, people.
Like I always tell Mark, I feel bad for him because I'll message him and be like, you know what, dude, maybe I should be done. And he's like, why? You're having a good time. You're having fun. And it's like, I know, but it's like I've been doing it for 4 years and I'm only at 74 subscribers on YouTube, which, it does get to you sometimes, but at the same time, you look at what's going wrong and then you try and fix it, and hopefully nothing else goes wrong. I know when I had Sandy Johnson, which that was my big interview, which I shouldn't say that because Peter Anthony was a big interview for me too. And so was the guys from Talking Shit because I got them their exposure. I was there. They very first appeared on my show.
Well, let me just tell you this. When you think about quitting, you got to remember that, from a wrestling standpoint, I'm gonna lay it to you straight. When I was breaking into the business of wrestling, I only wrestled in front of a crowd of like maybe 5-7 people because that's all that would show up to the show. But you know what? God damn it. I went out there each time and I just did the best show that I could do. If people were talking to me, I immediately picked up on it and said, for example, someone would be like, do a body slam. And I would stop and go, you want to see a body slam? And if I was a bad guy, I'd be like, no, and so because the goal, the goal, and what I tell this to other wrestlers, other aspiring wrestlers, and I'm going to tell it to you because it's a really good lesson, is you want to take people out of their 9-to-5 life. You want to throw them into your crazy world of wrestling or podcasts or movie reviews or whatever the hell you want to talk about. But you have to give them, you have to make them forget that they work a regular job. You have to make them feel special. You have to make them feel like, hey, you know what? I'm actually a part of something. I have a voice here. And that's why on our podcast, especially the solo series, I tell people, reach out to me. Comment, send me games that you want me to play. Tell me your stories. I want to share your stories with people. I want to shout you out. I want to give your name a voice. And, I want you guys to actually feel like, you guys are a part of something special.
I can't. Mark is right. I can't forget about Jason Brooks, Darcy DeMoss, Tommy McLaughlin, which Mark was the one to get them on here.
I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he gets all these people. All of a sudden, he'll have Like he had the chick from one of the Friday the 13th movies. In fact, it was the chick that wore like the brown silky panties. And I was like, oh man, I had such a huge crush on her. And he had her on. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how the fuck? How do you
He's got a
Mark.
Okay.
Reach out to Gary Busey.
So
tell him that we want him for breakfast at Busey, bro. Tell him, Mark. Do your magic.
So here's the thing. Mark will not tell you this. He'll probably get pissed if I tell you, but I'll tell you.
Ooh, tell me.
He was so scared about doing his own show.
Why?
And I literally told him that I said, Mark, be yourself. Mm-hmm. And then he also talked about, bringing someone else in, which, could have been me, Mark. Could have been me, man. But when I had both him and Brian on, I told both of them, I said, just be yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're asking me for advice. I'm like, yeah, I did this for 4 years, but guys, I'm not, the guru. Just be yourselves. That's all people care about.
And do it. Yeah.
And with their almost 2,000K subscribers on YouTube, being yourself pays off.
Yes, it does. Yes, I was watch my first show. Jesus, Mark, speak English, bro.
See, that's what happens when you get people that move from Detroit to Florida. He's selling the good name of Florida.
Shots fired. We have shots fired.
Oh, I could say that because that bitch is going to fucking go on his show and rip me a new one.
Oh, he's going to. His next episode, which is probably going to be Tuesday. He's just going to be like, let me start off the show with this.
So they were doing a talking shit open forum one night. And I think they're going to have a guest on. Well, then they rip into me about how when my hair grows, I have a really bad cowlick.
Mm-hmm.
So Brian, the asshole that he is, love you, Brian, just rips me up. And then they're talking about when I was part of the Deluxe Edition Network and how I was the first podcaster of the week on their thing when they first started. And they're just ripping me a new one because one time I had went to see Red Green do a live comedy tour thing, or however you want to say it, special with my wife. And my face looked terrible, and Mark will say I look like a serial killer. And so as soon as
he said that, he actually wanted me to tell you that you look like a serial killer. So
I know, he's a fucking asshole. But yeah, we always call him the first Oompa Loompa or Yoda. So, or the first Ewok that didn't make it to the screen. So, there's that.
Oh, man.
If you want to watch me and Mark literally obliterate each other,
yes,
have him watch. Is that Brian? That's got to be Brian.
That's probably Brian. See, now you got Brian. See, now you've talked enough shit. Now you got Mark and Brian coming after you right now.
Oh, yeah. It's like
on your own show.
Yeah. I wish these fuckers would come on here, but, they're too good for that.
Oh, yeah. They're too mainstream, bro.
Oh, of course. Fuck, they were okay coming on this show before, but now it's just, fuck.
And besides, bro, it'll just be, Brian will tell us one story of his wrestling career where he was known as the Icon or whatever the fuck it was, the Enigma. What were you, Brian? What was your name?
Oh, no, that's my buddy Bryant Nelson. I grew up with Brian Nelson.
Oh, but anyways, he'll tell you that one wrestling story, and then, Mark will ask you what your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers are, and that'll be your show. And you'll say things like, "You don't pay me enough," and you'll say things like, "Well, my Mount Rushmore of wrestlers is gonna be," and just say fucked up people.
Yeah.
Like I think I said an indie guy out here. I said Chris Disney, the Maverick, Chris Disney. Let's see, Barry Horowitz.
Ooh, Barry.
Just say a bunch of jobbers. That's what I did. All right, Mark.
You want my Mount Rushmore?
Sure. Let's hear your Mount Rushmore. Let's hear it.
Macho Man Randy Savage, Sting, First of all, you'd have to know what Mount Rushmore is there, Mark.
My God.
But anyway, Macho Man Randy Savage, I loved his WCW era more.
Oh, yeah. You
And
like
granted,
the snap into a Slim Jim.
I was born in 1993, so I didn't get to see any of the 80s stuff until
You were
like
born in 93?
Yep.
My God, I feel so old. I'm like 11 years older than you.
Dude, I'm 30 and people are like, "You're not old." It's like, yeah, tell that to my body. Like I played sports in school. Oh, hey, no, you come in here, Alyssa.
Yeah, Alyssa, you come in here.
Gratuitous wife cameo.
Yes. What's up,
This
Alyssa?
This is the woman that puts up with me. And yet Mark will tell her every time to leave my ass.
Such a brave woman. Such a brave woman.
I know, right?
You know what you should do? You know what you should do after this podcast? I think you should go into the kitchen and make her a nice gourmet meal. That's what I think. What do you want, Alyssa? Anyway. What do you feel like for dinner? What sounds good?
What do you feel?
Something edible.
Something edible. You know what?
For you. Don't even
make that woman some popcorn shrimp. That's what I'm gonna say. Make her some popcorn shrimp. Maybe make her like half of a sandwich to go with that popcorn shrimp. Get her all the dipping sauces. Get her the marinaras and the whatever the fuck else people dip them little shits in. But just make her a nice ass dinner, Steve. That's what I'm gonna say to you.
So I'm gonna let Alyssa say this. Who cooks for you? Exactly.
She pointed at the dog? Did she point at the dog?
No, we don't have a dog. I actually cook in our relationship, but she bakes.
Oh,
and
I'm surprised. I'm surprised you're not fat, bro. Like
I used to be, but my doctor did. She got to look at my chart, and she's like, "Yeah, you need to start, lowering yourself.
You need to have a salad, bro." Is that what they told you?
No, it wasn't that. It was more that my stress levels were a little bit too high. And I'm like, well, I have anxiety and depression. I'm sorry. That and I'm in the wrong business, which is content creator, but I love it.
Dude, seriously, right? This is some stressful shit.
Yeah, it is. I mean, every time Mark is always giving me shit when he's like, dude, I'm surprised you haven't gotten like 1,000 views on your video. And it's like, oh, thanks, fucker. But back to the Mount Rushmore.
No wonder you're stressed out all the time. Fucking Mark is your stress, bro.
Oh, definitely.
Mark is your stress.
No, he's my number. Him and Brian are my number, and of course Brian. They're my number one cheerleaders. And Alyssa, she's always been the one to tell me, "Don't quit."
See, that's good. You need to keep all three of those people in your social pipeline.
All right, Mark wants an invite, bitch.
Mark wants an invite. Bring him in.
Yep,
bring him in. I knew he wanted to come in eventually because he's catching a lot of punches, and I know he wants to throw some.
Good God, it's been so long since I've actually had, to deal with Mark on my shit.
This is good. This is going to kind of be like a reunion show. You and Mark are going to be doing a show together, and you're going to be interviewing me. So this is kind of like a throwback show.
I sent you the invite, motherfucker. But anyway, my Mount Rushmore. So Macho Man,
Sting.
A lot of people would say, Ultimate Warrior should be a part of that, but no. Brian Pillman.
Ooh, okay.
And I may get a lot of flack for this.
Let's hear it.
But CM Punk. Okay,
so you kind of have the old school and new school. That's that's not bad. And plus, dude, you're 30. You're 30, and we were always entitled to wrong opinions in our 30s. So that's totally fine. Do you?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. That's a great Mount Rushmore.
I mean, Ric Flair was on there for many years, but then with how he's gotten lately, it's just like, I hate it because it's like, dude, you have.
You just can't let it go.
Yeah, he can't let it go.
See, so let me tell you something about wrestlers. That's how a lot of these guys are. They didn't have anything else. Uh-oh. There he is.
feeling, bitch?
Yeah, right. I got tired of typing. Okay.
Where's
Yeah.
fucking Brian? Like, I'm
Yeah,
waiting
where's
for
Brian?
Brian to
Brian's
get on
watching the feed. I could see it right here.
here. Okay.
He's
Hey,
on
Brian,
Facebook
if I
watching it.
send you a fucking link, will you come on, you bitch?
Yeah, Brian, get your ass on here.
I'm
Let's make this a
sending him.
let's make this a fatal four-way.
I'm
So,
sending him.
so anyways, like I was saying, you know, a lot of these wrestlers, especially from back in the day, the 80s and the 90s, a lot of these guys didn't have anything else. A lot of these guys, all they knew how to do was wrestle. You know, they got into it very young. They trained their entire lives. And when they get to a point to where they either get released because they're too old or too hurt or whatever, they don't know how to do anything else. They don't know how to go into society, get a regular job. They can't go to like a McDonald's and be a fry cook. All they know is wrestling. And you know, one of the best movies to watch is The Wrestler. That is like the absolute peak of what it's like to be a professional wrestler and what those guys go through.
Look at Ric Flair.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to separate Ric Flair from Richard Flair.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And
exactly.
That's one thing that and you can read that in his book and stuff like that. There's a lot of people that'll tell you that in his books, and he'll even admit to it. He doesn't know who is who. And, it's like the Rock and Roll Express, they're still going. They don't know how to somewhat separate themselves.
They don't know how to turn it off. Exactly. And that's what a lot of these guys, a lot of these veterans have. They don't know what it's like to work a 9 to 5 and then on the weekends go in and wrestle. No, like wrestling is their life. Like they're like the rock stars of wrestling. So,
or some of them don't know what it's like to be home because they're always on the road. 300 days out of the year. So 65 days.
In order for him to become the greatest, he had to say, fuck my family. And, I hate to bring this on him because he brings it on himself. But when his son was trying to get in, not David, but Reed.
Oh, Reed. Okay.
He was seeing a lot what Reed was doing. And Rick will tell you, he egged it on.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Even that documentary he did on Peacock, he said it. He's like,
but then he also tried to backtrack it some. So he tried to get Reed help, and they thought that they had him under control. But then, he went over to Japan, and that it didn't work out so well when he came back.
Yeah, man.
Drugs is the other bad part of wrestling. It's there. You're always you're hurt, so you're trying to mask the pain and go from there.
Yeah.
And also, I hate to say this for every WWE fan that think Hulkamania started in WWE, but it actually started in a company in Minnesota called the AWA.
Wait, people think that Hulkamania started when it was WWE, not WWF?
WWE people. So the people that still live in their parents' basements and will consider every other company. No, he likes AEW.
Hey.
Now we're talking shit, baby.
Motherfucker. Listen, I live in a shithole of a trailer, okay? Not a basement.
Okay, so this did turn into a legitimate interview, but now we're just talking shit. If we can get Brian Alam and fucking in here, because he's being a little bitch.
You're gonna have to change the background to the new talking shit logo, Mark.
Not yet. We're gonna I'm waiting for I did show the logo, of course, today.
It looks good. I don't know how you guys get all these cool logos and shit.
We had a guy just his name's Ricky. He told us he made it for us. Just told him we were told all he wanted in return was get a recognition. I told him okay, because I was gonna have Andy make us a logo, but he's got to change our intro now to match the new logo.
Fuck, I gotta get your connections, bro. Like,
Andy didn't. Andy don't want. He says he doesn't do a good enough job to be charging. So
yeah, I think I think once that man realizes that his work is like
it's really good. I love it. I mean, he made our intro, and it took him maybe I swear a half hour. I asked him.
It took him about 6 minutes, bro. Like, he actually made your intro while he was ring announcing at SoCal Pro.
I was figuring he was on the toilet when he made it.
He was like, "Welcome to SoCal Pro." Yeah, that looks good. Fucking sin.
And that's the reason why that was the reason why he missed our show the one day. One, because he can't tell time, and two, he was at SoCal doing ring announcement.
So can I actually tell you the real story? Can I actually tell you the real story of why he missed your show that one time?
Go ahead.
I want to hear this.
He was doing an episode of SoCal Pro TV, SCP TV.
That's what it was.
It was when we were actually just starting doing it. Steve, since you don't really follow me at all, Andy and I actually started doing SCP TV, and that's where we found that we should be doing more like podcasty stuff. Because what we would do is basically I would be Rotten Ronnie, my wrestling persona, and he was kind of the straight man as Andrew Jasic. So literally all I would do is just follow him. So he would be the straight man, I'd be the color. And we just kind of did like this weekly show in which it was like kind of like a recap and then goofy shit that Rotten Ronnie would do. Like there was one where I was stealing shit from the pro wrestling loot warehouse.
Always.
And Jeff caught us and he's like, "Hey," and I'm like, I ran out of there with a bunch of shit.
If you get a chance, go watch them. Those are funny as hell.
Every
time it was
wrestling.
So I got a question, Matt. Last weekend's Rumble, is that actually on YouTube?
It is.
Okay.
So if you look up Matthias, I believe it's Matthias Wrestles or Matthias Pro Wrestling. Matthias is he's one of the newer guys in SoCal Pro Wrestling, and he is amazing. I'm going to tell you guys right now. In fact, I'm going to plug Matthias right now. Matthias is that guy. Matthias is that guy that goes to the gym and stays in the gym, and he is not satisfied until his body is actually aching because he literally cannot lift the weight anymore. Then he's like, okay, I'm good for the day. If he's there 7 hours, he's there 7 hours. The man is an absolute powerhouse. So you can catch that entire Rumble on his page. Yeah, I believe it's Matthias. What's going on, man? Who is that? Peter Anthony.
That was Peter. Yeah, Peter Anthony.
Peter Anthony. That sounds like a songwriter. Like,
yeah.
Away on a desert road. My name is Peter Anthony, and I'm going to sing to you, Mark.
Oh, please stop.
God. I'm going to sing to Marky Mark. Where the fuck is Brian on this shit?
You want me to? I'll message him. I'll message Brian and see.
Yeah, message that.
It's after a saying. There you go. Thank you, Peter. I like it, man. There goes Mark. There goes Mark trying to type. You know how long it takes this motherfucker to type?
I know, like, right?
This is him typing.
It's like the first fucking ape that learned how to fucking read and type at the same time, just like on the typewriter.
You know, Mark's computer skills are actually really good.
Well, believe it or not,
only looking up porn. That's the only.
I was about to say,
but no, like Mark. Seriously, whenever you post a video on Twitter, you do like all the hashtags and the hats and all that shit. I'm so bad at that stuff. Like,
I just push stuff. I just whatever pops up, that's what I push.
Yeah, because like I was like trying to tag like Gary Busey in our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles review. By the way, if you guys haven't watched it,
yes,
please get over to that channel and watch it. It is hilarious.
And he says I'm wrong. Who's your favorite turtle?
My favorite turtle?
No, you don't count. But Steven, who's your favorite turtle?
Raphael.
There you go.
Raphael? You guys are Raphael fans? It's okay.
Yes.
Okay. Like I said in the review, we're all entitled to be wrong. You know.
And you know what? I will say this, and Ric Flair, if you're listening, your greatest all-time feud, Ricky Steamboat.
Oh, I was going to say with Raphael, the Ninja Turtle. Are you talking about that time when WWF had like the Ninja Turtles come out and wrestle? But what was that, like 96?
Yeah, something like
Really?
that.
Oh
Yeah.
man, it was bad. Like it was. I think
It was before the Attitude Era.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I kind of stopped watching wrestling at like 90, 95-ish. I think I stopped watching it like early 95.
Yeah, I still have
of wrestling.
I still haven't stopped watching, and I've been watching since '87.
Hey Mark,
Yeah, I can't watch that shit. It's fake.
Kind of clunky.
Huh?
Is the
So we
stream
can't watch that
coming
shit. It's
okay?
fake.
He keeps talking. I can't hear you when he talks.
Sorry.
What'd you say?
Is the stream?
I can't
coming
watch that
okay?
shit. It's fake.
Damn you, Matt. But is the stream coming in okay, or is it clunky?
It's freezing up a little bit.
Fuck.
On your end, but for the most part, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Brian, his exact words is, "Sorry, I'm busy. I'm trying to listen to y'all."
Oh,
Sorry, I'm busy.
You're not
I'm baiting.
fucking busy, you lazy bastard.
Just tell him
He's
to get off
baiting.
his wife.
Leave him alone. He's baiting.
Tell him to get off his wife.
Yeah, get off your wife, you fuck. You already have what, 2 kids?
Yeah.
Oh,
Two girls.
I know you're trying for a son, but it's never gonna happen.
No.
It's like I keep telling Mark, there's only so much you can do.
Hey,
There's so many times Karen will go through that spiel of, okay, we'll have sex, honey. It's not satisfying for her.
She allows me to do that. Oh my god. When's the last time that happened?
Oh god. But anyway, so back to the episode that I was telling you about, Matt, before Fuckhead decided to come in. They were roasting my ass. Well, then I comment and I'm like, I came in at the wrong time. And fucking Brian fangirls over me in the comment. And he's like, Steven, get in here. So Mark sends me the invite. I'm trying to set everything up. They're going like, come on, get in here, you pussy. And so finally I get in there and I'm like, you know what, Brian? First of all, fuck you.
That's exactly the first words out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Brian,
send Matt and Andy that fucking episode.
Yeah, you have to. Now I have to see it.
Hey, he can look it up on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, but which one was that?
It's the first open.
Oh, okay. The first open.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, it is literally us in our natural environment.
I could have kept the other one where the day we got let go from the network, but no, that doesn't exist.
Man.
The one where Brian actually let a word slip that.
Is that what got you guys kicked off? You guys said
no. I had to cut the interview or that show off because Brian slipped a word out, and I cut the feed, and that it don't exist anymore. I deleted it as soon as I got done.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, when we were gonna join the Deluxe Edition Network, they kind of sent us over these rules.
Yeah,
Andy and I were reading these rules like, hey man, we only want to plug shows that we believe in. We don't just want to plug shows just to plug shows.
Believe it or not.
If there's someone that teaches, hey, I'm going to teach French on my podcast, we're not going to plug that show. I don't care if you want to fucking learn French.
Yeah. I didn't want to plug a podcast that was only doing once a month as a podcast of the month.
And not to shit on the Deluxe Edition Network.
Deluxe Edition, they did help us out a little bit. I made some good friends over there, and they still talk to me, and I talked to a lot of them, and it's just we didn't need the network, because a true network will help you expand, not try to hold you down.
Yourself over.
And I want to stress this to people that are listening, especially from the network. I appreciate everything you guys did for me. It's just once the rules started coming about, and then of course there was very few people that were helping.
I didn't know the rules.
Yeah, see, that's how I felt. I'm sure Andy felt the same way, but Like if you tell us like, hey, we really want you on our network, and then you say, by the way, you have to follow these rules. Like, you know, Andy and I don't really like rules, man. Like we're both both pro wrestlers. You know, we kind of set our own rules. Like we don't want to follow someone else's
When you
rules.
sent me the rules, I was looking through them and I was like, I was never told this. I was never told this. Wow, I definitely wasn't told this.
Believe it or not, and no one from the network knows this. I don't know if Mark wants me to tell you this, anyone this, but me and Mark had already decided to leave the network because we wanted you guys on there. And I had talked to Casey because I had gotten Deep Dark Secrets podcast on there. After I had interviewed them, I'm like, you guys should come on the network. And so they got on there. Mark and Brian, when they got on there, I was very happy for them.
Well, we got on there day one. We didn't even ask. They just
I know. We're just going to have to do anything.
We're just going to give you a shot. Okay, cool. And we thought we were doing good, but
we got the
what they wanted and what we wanted are two different things, so it worked out better.
Right.
They didn't want us to do live shows, and they wanted us to put more product into our show, and which we're thinking about doing different shows, like doing the live show and then doing one that's with do one with green screen behind us and do a live show, but then afterwards do a different show on top of that. We're still trying to figure that all that
being
out.
Yourself. Just keep being yourself. That's why your subscribers like you.
Yeah,
you're being yourself. Don't change that formula.
Well, no, that's something Brian and I have been talking about. Just try to add something to it also.
Yeah. Fuck, if I was smart, I should have been like, hey, you and Brian stay on our show, and then. But I was too into myself.
And Matt, you want to know the real reason why I didn't stay with him? Why I decided to go on my own, which he already knew that I was going to do.
You said he looks like a serial killer.
Well, besides that, Steven he wanted it a certain way, and he didn't want to go.
I was second guessing. Not only
he was always second guessing,
but I was second guessing myself.
And
I second guess yourself.
And I could not keep doing that. I wanted to keep forward. I wanted to keep moving. But he's gotten some great guests on here lately, even though I haven't been watching a whole lot. But
I know.
He's got some good guests on, and he's got even more guests coming. Probably, every other day it seems like these days.
I'm trying. I was gonna have a guest yesterday, but never got a thing saying, "Hey, I can't make your show," but. It is what it is, and I was supposed to be on Cultworthy podcast last weekend, but he had to fill in for work, so I wasn't really mad about that. The thing that I'm mostly mad about is first thing I'm mad about is I got the Eric Bischoff treatment from Casey, which I'll kind of be mad at a little bit at Casey for this. For him to ask a guest on my show when I just had quick taken a bite of my sandwich, to ask a guest on my show if that's the reason they left the network.
It had nothing to do with that.
I know, but that is the biggest and lowest thing he could have ever done to me.
And actually, that guy is actually watching your show.
John? Yeah, I know.
Yep.
And I loved John.
Oh, yeah. The Basement Surge is awesome.
Yeah, it's a great show.
I love going on their show. I love what they do. Just like, Matt and Andy's show, it's really good. It's watching them, just watching their faces and watching some of the stuff that they say and do. Gary Busey, for one, Breakfast with Gary Busey. Now that would be
Busey, baby.
That would be an interesting. What was the other one?
Fucking with Feldman?
Oh, yes.
Rocks Off with Rockwell?
Mm-hmm. And you were actually every time you do a movie, you actually tell people something that they don't normally know about the movie.
Yeah, we try and give at least one fun fact, and like it's actually a lot of the fun facts I'll kind of look up, or like I'll listen to like other podcasts, and we'll be like, hey, did you know in this movie that this happened? And I'll be like, you know what, that's actually pretty fun, and I'll share it. Like the Ninja Turtle one, I actually knew about that from my wife and I, so we actually met. And our first date was we went and watched a midnight showing of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And the guy who played Michelangelo, who was he was like the voice part. He wasn't like the martial arts part, he was the voice part. He was there and he was telling stories, and he was actually saying like how hot it was in those turtle costumes. And like there was these 4 guys that were wearing the turtle costume. And he's like, I don't know how you motherfuckers are wearing that shit. That shit is so hot. And he's like, and let me tell you this. When we were in those fucking costumes, we were in it for like 10, 15, 20 hours a day, and they wouldn't let us out of that fucking costume. They would give us water, sure, but like all they would reward us with is a small scene in the movie. And like he would actually point those out when we were watching, and I'm like, whoa, that is fucked up. I got to talk about that.
Now, the only one that I don't remember seeing in the movie other than the voice was Corey Feldman. You were pointing out the other ones that were in the movies that had extra parts, like the delivery guy.
Yes, so he was. I think he was. I want to say he was like the martial artist for Donatello or something. He was. I can't remember what it was, but like him, the guy in the taxi cab. Mm-hmm. The guy that's in the back seat. He's like, "What was that?" And then the taxi cab goes, "I don't know. It looked like a big turtle or something." He was one, and they just have like very small cameos.
Yeah,
and that was kind of like their reward.
And then I love their how they kept talking about April, her boss.
Why he was over the house?
Yep, he was always at the house. Always.
He's always there. He's always bringing his little fucking kid over, as Andy would call him, gingivitis. He's always showing up. The fucking little shit kid is always stealing shit from April, but April won't know because April's such a fucking hoarder. She's got all this shit everywhere.
No, we can't answer that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is Andy is going to be in some sort of motion picture. I don't know what it is.
It's called Dude, Where's My Penis?
Yes, it actually
is also Dude, Where's My Height?
Dude, I didn't even come in here and say what I was going to say to you, Steven. So, fuck you.
Go ahead.
Fuck you. Damn serial killer.
Okay, motherfucking Ewok.
Ewoks were pretty cute, so fuck you. Oh, and I loved it when they did the No Hold Bars one, when they were talking about the woman and her bush. So I sent them a picture of a female in the 80s in a bush, and oh my god,
boy, you sure did.
Yep,
you sure did.
More.
Hey, just remember, motherfucker, Texas Chainsaw the game comes out next month.
Yes.
Oh shit, yeah.
Yes.
What day again? It's
August 19th, I think.
Okay.
And there's also a Killer Clowns one too.
I can't wait for that one. Oh man, I can't wait for that one.
I can't wait for the RoboCop game.
Yes, I actually have that one pre-ordered. I'm excited for that one. Rogue City. Yes.
Have you played the Terminator one?
No, I haven't yet. Have you?
The Terminator one's pretty good too.
Thrash, what are you on? PS or Xbox?
Oh man, I'm on all of them. PS, PlayStation, I'm on. Xbox, I don't really play anymore.
Oh, you fucking suck. That's all I know.
But you know what I'm mostly on now? PC. Emulators, baby. Emulators.
Yeah.
I was gonna say if you're on Xbox, send me your game tagger and we'll figure out some games.
Yeah, when we get off here, I'll send you mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm never on Xbox, but I'm always on PlayStation.
Well, that's
never.
Jason
Well,
Momoa.
but PlayStation and Xbox for Texas
is gonna have
yeah,
crossplay.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
can,
I'm gonna kill you guys each time.
I got to play the beta for it.
Is it
Yeah,
good?
I mean,
Yes,
he didn't upload any of that footage.
No.
I was like,
man, I fucking sucked the first time I went in there. I was like, what the fuck? You know, I got lost in the basement. But after that, I was like, okay. The second day we did a farm, and that one was cool. It was easier to get out of there than it was the basement. But man, you can get lost, and you know, there's so much stuff that you have to do to be able to get out too. And
but that's how it was in the house. Remember in the movie, like when they were in the house, like yeah, like the house looks small on the outside, but once you're on the inside and all that shit, it's like, how the fuck do I get out of here?
But yeah, I think people will be very happy with this one. I know that a lot of people weren't happy with Gun Media when they did Friday the 13th, but I thought they did a good job.
I liked that game. It was
bad.
It was cheesy.
It was a great game that was destined to fail because of the lawsuit. And, but now they got, you know, they're killing the game off. That's one more year, and then it'll be dead. They're no more playing it ever. But they're making a new Friday the 13th game.
Well, not Gun Media.
No, not Gun Media. No, a different one. So
I hope so. I hope it's not only. I hope it's not only online. Like I hope there's like.
I would like a single player mode. You know, a story or something with it. Even that'd be cool.
That's why I don't think they've made. That's the reason why I think they're having so much trouble with trying to come up with a Halloween one. Is because one, you're only going to have Michael as the killer, so it's going to be one against however. And two, honestly, you got that with Dead by Daylight.
Yeah. But see, Dead by Daylight, a lot of people love that game.
Did you see who they put in Dead by Daylight? Nick Cage.
Oh my god.
Dude. Yeah.
And his perks are interesting though. And he makes noise and he says stupid things and it's really funny. But
so Nick Cage,
yeah,
much.
And it looks interesting. I'm waiting for it to come out because it's supposed to be out, I think this month or the beginning of next month.
Now, if they put Christopher Walken in that game,
I'll
play that game.
I could just imagine.
I got you guys beat. My boy Gary Busey, put him in there. Hey, it's me, Gary.
He's trying to get Gary on their show,
dude.
The only thing I could tell you is you know, the IMDb Pro, get it for the free service. Get Gary Busey's email and email him, and that's
a good idea. It's a good idea.
I watched your show when you were with when you did Bryce Tucker, the only three-time guest you've had.
I love that country
he
singer.
Said that he would like to do a certain show. I reached out to him, but you know,
give him time. No, give him. I'll tell him that, but give him time. He is a busy man.
Yeah,
but he'll also be down here in Tampa soon. So
I almost got to go to a free show. But I almost got Landon on, but July has been a busy month for him. So I was just like, whenever he's available,
I've reached out to Landon again because I want him to come on to promote his school that he's starting.
You know, you're already a big enough YouTuber. Fuck you.
No,
you these guests.
Well, I'm trying to get another guy too, but I'm waiting for him. He actually was supposed to be on our show and was in.
Mark, let me ask you. I always see you tag her and stuff, but when are you gonna get Diana Prince, bro?
I'm trying. I'm hoping. If everything goes right,
let me in on that one, dude.
I'll let you know.
I love The Last Drive-In.
I am hoping after Saturday's interview with Tom Matthews, if everything goes right, I'll tag her in that interview, and hopefully she'll finally say yes. I've been trying for a while to get her. I've reached out several, I'd say about, without being stalkerish, about 5 times now.
Oh, please. We already know you're a stalker.
I try not to,
you know how many stalkers she has? Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, I reached out to Medusa to try to get her on the show.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
And what pissed me off about hers, and I love Medusa. She's a great wrestler. She's a great driver. She's a great woman. And she lives here in Citrus County, my county. The thing that pissed me off is I told her that I got her book, that I read it, or I'm reading it now. She said as soon as I was done reading it, to let her know, and she'd come on the show. I said I'm done reading the book, and then you know what?
Well, she probably didn't think you could read, so you called her bluff.
Yeah,
because dealing with agents, I've noticed, is really a pain in the ass.
Yes.
Except for Landon's. Landon's was really good, and
she's nice. She's really nice.
Landon was messaged me after I had talked with him, and he's like, message Lori or Laura, I think her name is, and talk with her, and I did, and she got back to me within a day. But you are a lucky SOB because you got. Yeah, we got Tommy McLaughlin, Darcy DeMoss, Peter Anthony, Jason Brooks, and them on here. But you got a lot more of those guests from them movies. Like I got Sandy Johnson.
Right? I was very proud of Mark gets all those people, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know why? I'm going to tell you the secret. Mark, do you mind if I tell him? Mark sends nudes.
Exactly.
That's what it is. If you send
and they feel sorry for me.
Steve, if you send nudes of yourself,
just
Steve,
like his wife did,
you'll get a lot more people on your show.
Actually, I use that thing that Peter made for us.
Yeah.
I use that thing, but I changed a few things. But I put who I've had on my. I update the list every time I do it.
Okay.
And I took out the part where instead of saying horror or wrestling or whatever, like I got an actual list of people, top 10 that I want of for how horror, wrestling, comedy, sports, stuff like that. I got a top 10 list of everyone that I want, and then
well, you already got me and Andy, so you're good.
Yeah. Well,
I'd like your channel gone after that one. Done after that one.
Actually, I'd like to get SoCal Pro's owner. That one.
Jeff Dino?
Yep.
I can reach out to him and see if he would be willing to come on a podcast.
I'd like to see that.
Everyone just every time Mark comes into one of my shows, and everyone always marks out for him.
Well,
I sit there sometimes and Mark's comments, and it's like, hey, even though you plugged my channel, could you kind of throw me a bone here?
Who marks out for Mark? Let's see. Okay, Mark chat.
I will tell you this. I will go for Steven's podcast over a lot of different ones because, well, one, Steven's my friend. Two, Steven, he knows he'll research what he's doing before he gets onto the show. And if you ever watch any of his sports shows or sports ones, just never debate him on Minnesota shit because he'll
don't debate me in general.
He's very good on facts and stuff, and if he doesn't know it, he'll show him how to make it up just so that you think he knows
it. Yeah, like most of the episodes we used to do together. Mark would come in with notes to ask the people, and I'm just coming up with and that's why I miss having a co-host, because you can bounce shit off of each other.
Well, when Brian chat. When Steven Brian needs a co-host, who wants?
Hey, I've been trying to get him to do it with his best friend, Bryant, for a while now, and Bryant won't do it.
Well,
what the fuck,
with
Bryant
though, he and see, here's the thing. I had my wife as my co-host for a little bit, and
why don't you have Alyssa?
That's because
I made the mistake of showing her an email that some fucking troll out there, which if I ever find them out, I'm gonna have some words with them. But
never open up a mail from any troll.
I know, but
dude, trolls are trolls,
It kind of rocked her confidence a little bit, and I told her, I'm like, Alyssa, you're doing really good. And then of course I asked Mark back on, which that was, had I not fucked that one up, but hell, who knows? We would have rebranded and I would have been part of talking shit. But I was so very honored when they were like, hey, could we be on your show first? And it's like, yeah.
We wanted to get that, feeling out. But if you ever ask Brian, the first, I'd say first 10 episodes of our show, he had lists of questions to ask. And I only had like 3 questions. And he said, why don't you have a whole bunch of questions? I said, you'll find out.
Yeah, and you guys do have a lot of questions, which is good. It keeps the show going. So,
but then we find out, we listen to you guys, we listen to you talk, and we figure out, oh, they're going to tell us something. We're going to have them tell a story. We're going to get them to do this. We're going to get them, we don't have to ask questions. We can get you to ask the questions yourself or answer anything.
Andy and I are such big personas. That's why.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I liked about, it was the first time I had you on, you had us cracking up, laughing, especially when you said that you were going to take Brian's mom out for dinner and leave her with 2 steak dinners to pay for.
You know something, Mark? You gotta get it right, you nerd. When old Rotten Ronnie comes over to your house, he's gonna do one thing. He's gonna take your mother out to dinner. And he's gonna take her to the nicest steakhouse in town. And he's gonna let her get the biggest steak. And he's going to let her have all the sides, the mashed potatoes, the side salad with the extra dressing. And she's going to have all the chives and all the cheddar and all the butter on the potato. And you know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do, Steve? I'm going to get up. I'm going to go to the bathroom and I'm going to sneak out the back door, leaving her to pay for not 1, but 2 steak dinners because that's a rotten thing to do. And then don't call me rotten for nothing. Shut up, Steve. I'm not done. Now I'm done.
You just pulled off like Diamond Dallas Page when he was a manager, Ravishing Rick Rude, Cactus Jack, and who else would he have pulled off?
Ronnie, dude. That's just Ronnie. He's a big asshole.
How many times have you ever said that? That
promo?
Yeah.
That used to be my go-to promo. Like, I have a friend, Bob Hansen. He's a comedian. And I actually opened his show before his set. I came out and I was Rotten Ronnie. And people were like, what the fuck is this? And I remember when he came out, he's like, yeah, that was my tag team partner. That was Rotten Ronnie Trash. And people were like, what the fuck? Because at a comedy show, you don't yeah, it's funny, but like wrestling comedy and like comedy is different things.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are just kind of like, I'm kind of scared of this guy. Like, what's he gonna do to my mother?
Yeah, he had us cracking up laughing on that day.
Well, and the thing is, what makes a good heel? Watch MJF.
Michael Jackson Forever. I love him.
Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Not Michael Jackson Forever.
No.
AEW has a heel, and his name is MJF, Maxwell Jacob Freeman. And I swear to God, when they got CM Punk the first time, I told Mark, and me and Mark, we were talking about it because we're like, CM Punk's going to sign with AEW because it's new and all that stuff. And I had told them, I said, what would be funny is if they couldn't get him signed. So when they play Cult the Personality, out walks MJF just to stick it to the fans. And we don't have heels like that anymore. We don't have the heels that are okay with being hated. They want to be liked.
Well, that's the thing. And actually, this was a conversation that I actually had with some of the boys in the back at last night's SoCal Pro Wrestling show. A lot of wrestlers nowadays want to be Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
They want to be the anti-hero. They want to be a good guy and a bad guy at the same time. They just want to be that walking badass motherfucker. You can't. Because and this is what I told them. I said, look, you cannot be that persona. And they're like, well, why? I'm like, because Stone Cold already did it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you gotta find something that's original. You can't do shit that's already been done.
LA Knight is he's another one that's got the crowd going. That he's
so I actually saw some of his stuff. LA Knight. I was actually watching it earlier today. That guy's really good.
Yes, he started off. I remember when he was Eli Drake in Impact TNA.
Tits and ass. I love tits and ass.
I mean,
especially
he was always
when Scarlett Bordeaux was on there.
Oh,
Mark was on there. Mark was on tits and ass. Talk shit about that one, buddy.
What episode was that one?
Episode 7.
You were actually on TNA?
No.
Well, no. Like, I could have seen when they would be down in Florida.
Oh, man, I still got it.
No, see, you could have said that when they were doing the circus performers, when they had them on TNA.
Yeah, he was the contortionist. Mark was the contortionist.
See, TNA was such a good idea until they brought Hulk Hogan and they started doing the WCW shit again.
Yeah,
which I loved when Hogan turned heel. I loved it.
Yeah,
everybody did.
But at the same time, it already had its shelf life. They overdid it. And the Wolfpack to this day should have never been called NWO.
See, I don't know, because like I actually just did before I jumped on this call, I was actually editing one of my future releases for the solo series, and I actually do WCW NWO Revenge.
Okay.
And I actually talk about the first time I walked into a Funko Land. And I look up and I see this big picture of Sting as the Crow Sting.
Yeah.
I remember I was looking at him like, who the fuck is this guy? Oh my God, wrestling is so gay now, And I remember walking out of that Funko Land, and I went home and I was flipping through the channels, and I think I landed on TNT, and the first thing I see for WCW, this limo pulls up. Hulk Hogan gets out wearing an NWO shirt, dressed in all black, and I'm like, that's Hulk. Followed by Kevin Nash. I'm like, holy shit, that's Diesel. Followed by Scott Hall. Holy shit, Ranger Ramon. And then I think there was like Ted DiBiase, Kurt Hennig, who was Mr. Perfect. And I was just like, okay, what's going on? And I literally started watching it right then and there. And then I found out that Sting, that guy who I said was gay, I'm like, oh my God, that's Sting. And I used to watch Sting back in the day when he was the Surfer Sting. Well, so it's just, it works, man. I'm telling you.
The coolest thing that they did with Sting was they got him out of that surfer gimmick because it had ran its course. And then of course when he comes out after pretty much shitting on all the people that said, that he had turned his back on them, he shows up at the War Games in '96 and he takes on the NWO in that War Games by himself.
Yes.
And everyone just sits there looking like this can't be real. And he goes up to Lex Luger and he's like, is that good enough for you? Gives him the old up yours and walks out.
Is that when he was like kind of like recruiting?
No,
like he was like Macho Man.
No. Yeah, this was before when they were saying that Sting was the one that turned or is turning to the NWO and stuff, and
and then he goes
they had the
on
fake Sting.
Yeah, the fake Sting, and he goes on the next Nitro and doesn't even look at the camera, has his back to the camera and says, for everyone that's known that I didn't turn on WCW, I got your back, but just know I'll be making some cameo appearances when you least expect it. Well, and
then that was the last time he talked too for almost a year.
The next night he comes out
quiet.
He's got kind of like the Brandon Lee Crow makeup on, but it wasn't the full makeup just yet. It was just
it was like kind of like Ultimate Warrior stuff.
Yeah.
And then he had the
White
lines
low
down
body.
the eyes thing.
Yeah.
And he comes out. Someone said cinnamon roll.
Cinnamon. Thank you, Cinnamon. Oh no, that's Brian.
Cinnamon.
That's Brian.
That's
Hey,
Brian.
Brian. Yeah, you couldn't fucking come on here yet, asshole.
Well, I mean,
hey, he's old. He has to go to bed now.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
He has to polish his head.
But when Steve Borden, who is Sting, came out with with the different look, it was just like, oh my god, did he actually end up going to NWO? Well, and he beats up the fake Sting, and then they're trying to recruit him in the ring. And he's like, well, this is your big investment. This is all you can do, huh? Shitting on fake Sting. And he's like, Stinger may or may not be in your price range, but there's one thing for sure, is that nothing's ever for sure.
Matt, that's your porn name?
Yes, it is. It is my porn name, Cinnamon.
I was figuring it was
coming to the stage. It's Cinnamon. Cinnamon, come on to the stage.
Coming to the stage, one night only, Cinnamon.
One night only, Cinnamon.
I thought it was going to be your stripper name. Damn.
That's why I thought.
What was Andy's? What did Andy say his was? I forget.
We'll have to ask him.
Funny. It was funny as shit.
But yeah, that the age of anti-hero wrestling is gone. I mean, Sting can still do it today, and he does on AEW, but he's winding down, and he knows when to leave.
His contract's up in November, so he's going to have his
retiring.
final. He's going to have one last match, and that was it.
Yeah, he's retiring.
And I would love to see it against. If he's going to do it, I'd love to see him do it against Darby Allin. I think that would be an interesting match.
Yeah, but Darby would have to turn on him.
Exactly. That's what I want to see.
I could never see Sting as a heel again. They tried that, and it was garbage.
No, even Surfer Sting was, tried to do it as a heel too, but it didn't work.
I was about to say, was he ever a heel?
No.
Yeah, he was in the Four Horsemen. Or he thought he was.
No, he wasn't. That wasn't him turning heel. That was the Four Horsemen trying to turn good guys, and then it didn't work.
Oh, well.
And then they kicked him out of there, and it was on a Clash of Champions, and that's when Sting injured his knee.
Yeah, and went out for a little while, too.
Yeah. And then, of course, Jim Herd wanted Flair to drop the belt to Lex Luger, and
Jim Herd wanted him to do a lot of things. Flair to shave his head and call himself what?
Spartacus. Yeah.
What?
Yep.
You never heard that one?
No.
Watch. It's the only pussy that Mark ever gets.
No. Watch. Do you have Peacock?
Yeah.
Okay. Watch the death of WCW.
Yeah.
Okay. The rise and fall of WCW.
Yeah.
That'll tell you right there. Why Flair left, why Arn Anderson left, and why all these people left. And it wasn't just it was all to do with the sinking ship too.
I thought it was all because of Russo, because Vince Russo.
Oh no, that was
he's the one that killed it. He's the one that crashed it after it already started sinking.
I think Eric Bischoff could have done better in that whole thing. If he would have just if people would have stayed out of his out of it.
He should have, and this is the problem with wrestling promotions is, you have too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Everyone thinks that they can run a wrestling company now, and it's like you can't.
Eric Bischoff did really well.
Yes, he did.
The thing.
He brought in too many people.
He didn't want Thunder. And
really? I love Thunder.
I
used to love Thunder.
And that's why he tried to get Bret Hart so bad, because he wanted Bret Hart to be the flagship of Thunder.
He also wanted to make WCW Nitro just all of NWO, and then Thunder WCW.
Yeah.
Really? No.
Well,
you gotta have like
in his book, Eric Bischoff's book,
controversy creates cash.
He says that That was one of my first autobiographies of wrestling that I
He
actually.
also said that DX was nothing more than a ripoff the NWO.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, but
DX
was
to
it?
me, DX
Was
to
it
me
though?
was so much different from NWO because NWO
They
tried
didn't-
so hard to be gangsta.
They kept
Well,
adding
but
people.
think about it.
Everybody
But think
was.
about it. But think about this. Think about this. NWO came out first, right? Prior to DX forming, right?
Yeah.
When DX formed, who were the original members of DX?
Hunter,
It was
Triple
Triple
H.
H.
Hunter.
It was Road Dogg. It was
No,
Billy Gunn.
no.
They were the DX Army.
The original DX.
Shawn Michaels. And
Shawn Michaels and Hunter in China were the first members.
And do you know why they created DX?
Because they wanted to be more attitudinal. They wanted to be themselves.
And they also saw all the boys getting pissed off at Triple H and Shawn Michaels because him, Kevin Nash, and
the Click
Scott Hall were the Click. And a lot of the guys did not like the Click.
All right, guys. I'm sorry, but I got to actually take a phone call, so I'm going to leave you guys. And thank you, Steven, for inviting me. And
thank you so much for coming on, man.
And Thrash, fuck you. No,
don't make Thrash come over there. He will bring you to a wrestling event himself.
He already told me if I wanted to be chokeslam, he'd do it.
Hell, I'd do it. I did, believe it or not, before my knees started going bad, wanted to become a professional wrestler.
Yeah, so did I, but that's besides the point.
Watch the Battle Royal, Mark. Watch the Battle Royal. Matthias Pro Wrestling.
All right. Yeah. I'll talk to you later.
Bye, guys. So, yeah, and I think it's funny that one time Bret Hart actually said that he was asked to be a part of the Clique.
Hey, I mean, but if you think about it, I mean, the Clique was a bunch of known veteran guys at the time, you know?
Well, the reason he didn't want to be a part of it was because he wanted to keep wrestling. He didn't want the showy shit that we got with them.
I also think he didn't really care for a few members.
Yeah, him and Sean were good friends, but when it started getting like this, that's when the issues started.
Competition gets hot, man. You know, and jealousy is an ugly monster.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can even look at how, and it's kind of funny, but had Hulk Hogan said no to being part of the NWO, they were going to go with Sting.
Yeah, if Hulk Hogan said no to being a bad guy.
Well, here's the thing. Not to shit on Sting, but it wouldn't have worked because you're branding Nash and Hall as guys trying to break into WCW and take it over.
Right.
As the outsiders. You couldn't have put a WCW guy in there. And if you would have kept it just them three, I think you could have rode that thing until it died off. But when they kept adding more and more, like Macho Man to me did not need to be in there.
No, I thought he was a welcome addition.
I like it, and see,
but he's such a big persona.
Yeah,
that he steals the show. So that's why he had to go out and do his own things with like Diamond Dallas Page and Lex Luger. That's why he had to do his own things because he's so big.
He got Diamond Dallas Page on the map. He took the diamond cutter, and that put DDP more on the map than when they threw him the T-shirt and he put it on and then he diamond cut Scott Hall. You know.
But I will say this about Diamond Dallas Page. And by the way, Diamond Dallas Page, if you happen to catch this podcast, you are an amazing human being. Yeah. Thank you for everything you do with DDP Yoga and helping out all those people. But Diamond Dallas Page, I always thought he was an amazing wrestler. Like,
oh, he was.
I always wanted to see, you know, when you're a kid and you're watching the Attitude Era, you know, you think of dream matches. Like I always wanted to see Goldberg versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I also wanted to see Diamond Dallas Page versus The Rock. I think that would have been amazing if they, you know, combined it in like 1997, 1998 when that shit was.
Could you imagine that pay-per-view? WWE versus WCW, a pay-per-view.
Whoo!
But I will always say this about Vince. He needs to stop playing a victim when another company comes in.
Yeah.
Because when WCW came in, he was trying to say, oh, well, you know, they're so bad for your kids. And yet it was all because he was losing the federation that he had built.
Yeah, he was losing money.
And it's like, that's why I don't like Vince. I like the product. I didn't like the product lately until now, where it's starting to pick up and Triple H is at least trying to make it viable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and of course, Vince, being the revisionist that he is, he wants to take credit for Hulkamania and all that. Hulkamania started in St. Paul, Minnesota, when two wrestlers by the name of Jumpin' Jim Brunzell, part of the Killer Bees, also part of White Bear Lake, Minnesota, and Greg Gagne grabbed Hogan's shirt and ripped it off, and the crowd went nuts. But Vern didn't have the wherewithal to put the belt on Hogan, because Vern wanted some of his royalties from him going over to Japan, and Hogan said no.
Right.
So then he always said, well, you're not getting the belt then.
But also, you know, if Hulk never went to WWF, we would have never had the rock and roll wrestling era, and we would have never, like, as kids, we would have never had like that Hulkamania experience.
We were kind of getting, it was kind of happening in AWA, but not to the point where Vince did.
Yeah,
because MTV
really
was big. MTV coming about and all that was huge.
Yeah, that's what put WWF on the map.
Yeah.
Is all
and
that.
Then the Sidney Laupner thing helped out too.
Yeah, I mean, remember she did that video for the Goonies, and she had like all those guys in the video.
Lou Albano,
amazing.
Yeah,
Lou Albano was in it. You had Andre in the video. You had Iron Sheik. You had Nikolai Volkov. You had all those dudes in there. It was awesome.
I wish Roddy was still alive, because if
Roddy Piper was in it.
Got him on the show, I would have loved to have asked him how much hate and how many people wanted to get to him when he kicked Sidney Laupner in the head.
Yeah.
To set up WrestleMania.
I remember I had a friend who met Roddy Piper at, I think it was Comic-Con, and he actually asked Roddy Piper to put him in the sleeper. And he has a picture of Roddy Piper putting him in the sleeper, and you can tell, like, if you look at Roddy's face, he's like, here you go, motherfucker.
They Live is one of the underrated movies that Roddy was in.
I love They Live. That's one of my favorite movies.
I love it. There's people out there that are like, oh, The Rock is such an amazing movie star, and he is. But I'm like, you want to see the best movie star that was a wrestler? I put in They Live.
They Live, man. I like I said, I absolutely love that movie, and I also love Hell Comes to Frogtown. That's a fucking,
I haven't seen that one yet.
That's a fucking horrible movie with Roddy Piper, but you know what? He just makes it. Like Roddy Piper really makes it.
I mean, how many people do you know, being a first-time actor, would go up to an established director like a John Carpenter and be like, hey, you know, my character doesn't really have that much to say. I got this list of stuff I was wanting to say in promos. Can I incorporate them into my character? And then, of course, John Carpenter saying, go ahead, man. And then not on top of that, to do a fight scene, not ad-libbed, no practice, and get it done on the first take.
I love that fight scene. It's so long, and it's just this big old, like, just big old sweaty brawl. I love it.
Put on the glasses. No.
Put on the glasses. No. It was like two brothers fighting.
Yeah. Keith David.
Now will you put on the glasses?
Yeah. You dirty motherfucker.
Yeah, right. Hell yeah.
But I suppose we should probably wrap this up. I've kept you.
Yeah, let's get it wrapped. I gotta go downstairs and get. We're gonna do popcorn shrimp, so you better go hook up Alyssa after this. I'm telling you.
Hey, you know I always do. So everyone, this is Matt Thrash, part of Retro Rental Review and also SoCal Wrestling. Go check
SoCal
them
Pro
out.
Wrestling.
SoCal Pro Wrestling. Sorry about that. I'm gonna get beat
good.
up for that one. You watch.
Jeff Dino might beat you up. You better watch out.
Go check them out. Link is down in the description for their YouTube channel. And too bad Andy couldn't be on here, but you know what?
We'll
we
get
got
him.
Matt.
We'll get Andy next time.
Yep. And hey, Matt, if you guys ever want a guest, I'll come on.
Okay.
There.
I mean, we're not ready for guests yet, but you know, there have been a lot of people asking us. But
I would,
you know, when we get a little bit more notoriety and stuff like that, then we'll start asking guests. And you know, absolutely.
You guys do a great thing. I love what you do. Can't say that enough about you guys. Go check them out, though. That is Matt Thrash. I am Steven Gervais. Go check out Talking Shit as well, because, you know, Mark or Brian will talk shit about your mother, or they'll have Rod
and they'll cry
after your mother.
And they'll cry. They'll cry.
Yep.
We don't want to see grown man cry. So, you know, check out Talking Shit.
Yep. See y'all next time.